An old man on a mobility scooter shot across the road without a glance. To avoid hitting him, I swerved hard and was T-boned by a gravel hauler coming the other way. As my life faded, the old man shuffled over to the wreckage, a spectator of my death. He clicked his tongue with disappointment. I was just trying to get a little cash out of it, he mumbled. What did you have to dodge for? I was reborn in the moment, right before he was about to dart into traffic. This time, I slowed down and pulled over to the curb. The old man, confused, slammed on his brakes and stopped at the side of the road, too. I watched the old man in my rearview mirror. He was a few car lengths back, glancing over his shoulder at me every few seconds. A knot formed in my stomach. I thought, not my circus, not my monkeys. I just pull over and let him go. But it seemed he wasn't ready to give up on me. Fine. I killed the engine, grabbed a bottle of water from the center console, and decided I wasn't going anywhere. The sun beat down outside, but I had my EV's AC blasting. I wasn't in any hurry. The old man waited for over 10 minutes. Seeing my car remain idle, he started looking back more and more frequently, scratching his head and fidgeting. Finally, he parked his scooter on the shoulder and walked toward my car. Tap, tap, tap. He knocked on my driver's side window. I lowered an inch. Sorry, no cash. Then I rolled it back up. The old man stood there, stunned for a few seconds, before he started pounding on the glass with his fist. I ain't a beggar, he yelled, his voice raspy. I lowered the window again. His eyes were wide. This is a no-parking zone. Get moving. My gut tightened. He was still trying to set me up for his scam. The moment I pulled out, he's darn in front of me. I looked him up and down. Says who? Are you the parking police? You got a badge or something? He froze for a second. What? I scoffed. Whatever, man. You don't have a badge. You don't get to play traffic cop. Seeing that I wasn't budging, beads of sweat formed on his wrinkled forehead. You park here, you'll get a ticket. $200. Just go. I rolled the window up, reclined my seat, and closed my eyes, feigning sleep. Let the world rage outside. I wasn't moving. The old man banged on the window for a while longer, but when he got no reaction, he stormed off in a huff. But how could I sleep? In my last life, I learned right before I died that this was a setup. Now, reborn, I was shocked at how persistent this old scammer was. I'd already pulled over, and he was still fixated on me. I peeked out. The old man was standing in front of my car, holding up his phone and taking a picture of my license plate. He really wasn't giving up. I connected to my car's dash cam through my phone and saved the video file. The information I'd had before I died was too limited. I knew it was premeditated, but I never knew why he targeted me specifically. My new EV wasn't some luxury model. What was it about me? Was it random, or was there something else at play? Suddenly, a memory from my final moments in the last life surfaced. I'd seen someone in the crowd. A familiar, heavy-set woman. It had to be her. The woman watching from the sidelines was my ex-girlfriend, Lauren Fields. Last year, she'd dumped me because I accidentally bought her a lemonade instead of the first pumpkin spice latte of the season. She'd immediately started hanging out with her new guy friend. Within a month, she'd gained 30 pounds and the guy friend had ghosted her. Meanwhile, without her constant expenses, my financial situation had improved dramatically. Friends were setting me up on dates left and right. I'd even bought this new car. So, it couldn't have been a coincidence. Me getting into that accident and Lauren just happening to be there. I scanned the street, searching the sidewalks and storefronts. But I couldn't see her anywhere. Was it just a dying hallucination? No way. I couldn't afford to believe in coincidences. I was getting a second chance, and I wouldn't be the nice guy anymore. I had to take control. The old man was still in front of my car, now on the phone. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I held my ground. As long as he didn't move, neither would I. He was about 30 feet away. After hanging up, he parked his scooter and walked back toward my car. This time, he didn't knock. He took a picture of the front of my car, then circled around to the back to get my plate again. That was my chance. I stomped on the accelerator, merging directly into the main lane and speeding off. In the rearview mirror, I could see the old man, caught completely off guard, yelling and waving his fist in the air. Then he plopped down on the pavement, pointing at me and shouting at passersby, who paid him no mind. Finally, he scrambled back onto his scooter and gave chase. By now, I was a block ahead. But as luck would have it, the light ahead turned red. I flipped my turn signal on, intending to make a right, but a cluster of cyclists waiting for the light blocked the lane. My heart pounded against my ribs as I watched the old man's scooter closing the distance in my mirror. He glared at me with pure venom, but with so many people around, he didn't try anything. I just waited, anxious for the light to change. Green. I started to turn right, but while all the other cyclists moved on, the old man's scooter remained, solid as a rock. He just sat there, eyeing me sideways, daring me to make the turn. No way was I falling for that. Fortunately, it was a variable lane that also allowed for straight-through traffic. I gunned it, shooting straight ahead and leaving him in the dust again. He continued his dogged pursuit. Seeing a long stretch of traffic lights ahead, I knew this wasn't sustainable. A glance to my right revealed a large shopping mall. The old man was still about 50 yards back, weaving through traffic. I saw my opening and swerved into the mall's underground parking garage. After finding a spot, I sat there for a moment, my heart hammering in my chest. Just then, my phone buzzed with a text. It was from the blind date I was supposed to be meeting. She was asking why I wasn't there yet. Right? That's what I was doing out today. I texted back that I'd been in a minor traffic incident and was dealing with it, but I'd be there soon. She replied, "Hurry up. If you don't want to come, just say so to the person who set us up." After my near-death and actual death experience, my tolerance for trivial matters had plummeted. I replied, "You're right." I told her it's not a good fit. We shouldn't meet. She was instantly furious. She insisted on waiting for me and demanded that I still drive over to pick her up and take her home. The request to drive immediately set off alarm bells. A woman I'd never met was demanding I drive her home. It felt off. After dying once behind the wheel, I was hypersensitive about anything involving my car. I refused and blocked her number. I waited in the garage for half an hour, figuring the old man had given up. Just as I was about to start the car, I spotted a familiar, stooped figure several rows of cars away. He'd follow me into the garage. I ducked down and watched him, then quietly got out and followed him on foot. I could faintly hear him muttering into his phone, cursing me out. I cleared my throat loudly, then walked over to the elevator and pressed the button for the ground floor. Hearing my voice, the old man spun around and hurried toward me. I held the elevator door for him. Inside, with the security camera watching, all he could do was glare at me. I spent the next half hour wandering around the first floor of the mall. He followed me, his hateful eyes boring into my back. Then, I went up to the second floor and continued my aimless stroll. The old man was clearly struggling to keep up, but some grim determination kept him on my tail. After another hour, even I was getting tired. I glanced back and saw him, drenched in sweat, his face pale. I picked a pizza place in the third-floor food court and ordered a slice. The old man marched right up to my table and sat down across from me. He loudly ordered 2 of the most expensive specialty slices for himself and 3 more to go. He then loaded up his tray with free garlic knots and filled 3 cups with soda from the fountain. I just smirked and ate my pizza. When I was done, I paid for my single slice and left. The old man, who hadn't finished his mountain of food, had just stuffed a whole piece of crust into his mouth. It was too hot to chew, and he couldn't speak. All he could do was point at me, making muffled, desperate sounds. I ignored him and walked away. I hadn't gotten far when he caught up, grabbing my arm. "Did you pay? You can't just leave." An employee from the pizza place came rushing over. I held up my phone, showing the receipt for my purchase on the screen. "You only paid for 1 slice," the employee said. "There are still 5 more on the bill." "I only ordered 1 slice," I said, shrugging. "Maybe a ghost ate the rest." The employee pointed at the old man. "But your father ordered them. Aren't you going to pay?" I laughed. This old fossil? Never seen him before in my life. The old man's eyes bulged. "You little brat. You dragged me around all morning. The least you can do is buy me lunch." I feigned a look of sudden realization. Oh, I knew I felt something following me all day. I thought it was a stray dog. Sorry, I didn't realize it was a person. With that, I walked away. The employee, finally getting the picture, grabbed the old man to keep him from leaving. The old man immediately threw himself on the floor, thrashing and wailing, spitting half-chewed pizza all over the tiles. I had finally shaken him. I got in my car and drove home. I had just locked my front door when my phone rang. It was the police. They were confirming the incident at the mall. Once they understood, I genuinely didn't know the old man. I could hear his groans in the background of the call. "Oh, my head hurts. My chest. It's killing me. My prostate. I think it's acting up. These 3 lines were delivered in a weak, dying whisper. Pay up. That one was loud and clear. It wasn't my problem anymore. With the cops involved, he wouldn't get far with his act. But I was wrong. Just as I was getting ready for bed, a screeching, gravelly voice echoed from outside my building. Hey, the kid with the 969 plates. Get your ass down here. Nobody's sleeping tonight until you show your face. Clang, clang, clang. He was banging on the outdoor fitness equipment. Windows opened, and people started yelling at him. He just counted the floors and started pounding on their doors. I could hear a little girl burst into terrified sobs. The neighborhood Facebook group was blowing up. Whose car is 969? Can you please handle your personal drama without disturbing everyone else? Yeah, seriously, get down there and fix it before someone doxes you. I closed my windows, locked my doors, muted my phone, put in noise-canceling earbuds, and went to sleep. He was disturbing the peace. What did that have to do with me? Was I supposed to run downstairs every time someone shouted my license plate? This shitty condo complex had already run off 3 different property management companies. Less than 1% of the residents paid their HOA fees. The place was barely cleaner than a public restroom. When the trash started piling up into mountains, they protested to the city. The city told them to manage it themselves. That led to a brawl over who had to take out the trash. Honestly, letting this old maniac run wild here was like pitting a rabid dog against a pack of wolves. They deserved each other. I slept reasonably well. When I got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, I could still hear a crowd of people yelling downstairs, punctuated by the sound of sirens. Looked like a fight had broken out. I checked my phone and saw several missed calls from an unknown number. Scammers these days are relentless, even calling at 2 a.m. I turned my phone off and went back to bed. The next morning, feeling refreshed, I called the number back. It was a police officer following up. He said someone had filed a report claiming I'd hit them with my car, that they'd been looking for me all night. Luckily, no one in my building really knows me, let alone what car I drive or which apartment is mine. I explained the situation and offered to provide the complete dashcam footage. The officer seemed to understand and told me he'd be in touch if needed. On my way to grab breakfast, I overheard the neighborhood busybodies buzzing with a glorious tale of last night's battle. Apparently, the old man had taken on a dozen of the complex's most formidable senior citizens. It started with shouting, escalated to spitting, and ended in a full-blown brawl. He'd gotten his face slapped swollen by 3 different women. One of the women claimed she recognized him, said he was a notorious creep from the south side of town. He used to hang around elementary schools, pretending to pick up his grandchild. He'd target little girls walking alone, follow them, and when they got to a quiet spot, he'd snatch their backpacks. If they fought back, he'd grope them. Then he'd throw himself on the ground, clinging to their legs, sometimes ripping their school uniform skirts. If anyone intervened and threatened to call the police, he'd pretend to have dementia and pull out a tattered medical ID bracelet with his address on it. People would assume he was just a sick old man and tell the little girl to run along. He got away with it every time. The girls he terrified were left with trauma. Some were too scared to go to school. Others had nightmares for months. A few saw their grades plummet, missing their chance at a good high school and ending up in community college. The worst case involved a girl who jumped out of a second-story window. Luckily, she survived, and through it all, the old man walked free. If a parent ever managed to catch him, he'd just collapse on the ground and play the victim, sometimes even extorting a few $100s from them. And now, for some reason, this monster had set his sights on me. 4. During my lunch break at work, the security guard at the front desk called me. Someone was here to see me. I figured it was the old man. It's a heavy-set young woman, the guard said. I went downstairs. It was my ex-girlfriend, Lauren Fields. Her body was bloated, her face puffy. I could barely recognize her. The only thing that hadn't changed was the entitled, resentful look in her eyes. She glared at me, her face a thundercloud. I heard you've been on dates since we broke up, and you got a new car? Why didn't you tell me? Her tone made it sound like I owed her $100,000. I picked at my teeth with a toothpick. You got something to say or not? I still have to eat my fruit cup. I turned to leave. She grabbed my wrist. A wave of greasy revulsion shot through me. What's with the attitude? She snapped. You think you could just dump me and not be responsible? You're worse than a deadbeat. What about my 3 years of youth? What about all the lattes you bought me? What about cooking for me every day? I had to laugh. She was using the good things I'd done for her as ammunition to guilt trip me. Lauren, you broke up with me to go hang out with your new guy friend, remember? All because I bought you a lemonade instead of a latte. The only reason I stopped buying you lattes was because you were starting to look like you were going to pop. Your 3 years were your youth, so what were my 3 years? A charity project? Lauren's eyes, nearly swallowed by her puffy eyelids, widened in shock. She stared at me as if she'd never heard me speak in that tone before. You. She was speechless with rage. You just wait. I'm going to ruin you. She turned and waddled away. Watching her go, I felt a sense of unease. This felt too much like a cheesy soap opera. She came all this way just to deliver a few threats? I had a quick word with the security guard at the front desk. Sure enough, just after lunch, a commotion started at the main entrance. The old man was there, and he'd brought a huge banner with him. Employee with license plate 969 hit and run. Where is the justice? But I had already warned the guard, and he was prepared. He locked the main glass doors and placed a sign inside that read, "Caution, unstable individual. Do not engage." The old man stood outside, yelling for a while. He realized no one was coming near him, rendering his banner completely useless. He looked past his own reflection and saw the sign declaring him mentally ill. He roared with fury, rattling the glass doors and reaching through the handles to grab the sign. It was placed just out of his reach. He contorted his body, stretching his arm as far as it would go, but he was still an inch short. He looked like a monkey in a cage, shaking the bars in a fit of helpless rage. A bunch of us were watching the show from the floor-to-ceiling windows upstairs. No one could read the banner from that angle, so they had no idea he was there for me. That is, until a colleague returning from lunch saw the sign up close and came to find me. "Hey, isn't 969 your plate? The cops are here." Suddenly, all eyes were on me. The head of security called and asked me to come down. When I got there, I recognized the officer immediately. "Hey, I'm the one who called you this morning," I said. He made the connection. The old man was still screaming that I'd hit him with my car. He demanded that I either pay up or my company fire me. He threatened to come back and cause a scene every single day. If anyone touched him, he'd have a medical episode on the spot. The officer wasn't buying it. He called for an ambulance. I grinned. "Go ahead and have your episode," I told the old man. "We have a new compassionate response initiative. The moment you collapse, the paramedics will be on you. Needles, defibrillators. They'll have you back on your feet in no time." The old man's eyes darted toward the approaching ambulance. He didn't dare collapse. He just pointed a trembling finger at me. "Pay me, or I'll tell everyone what a piece of trash you are. You'll never find a girlfriend again." That last part struck me as odd. "Hey, old-timer, how do you know I don't have a girlfriend? I've been married for over a year." The old man blurted out, "Impossible. Absolutely impossible. You just broke up a month ago." He clamped his hand over his mouth, cutting himself off. I looked at him sideways. "What's Lauren Fields to you?" His eyes shifted nervously. "Who?" "Lauren, Karen. I don't know any of them." I turned to the officer. "Officer, I suspect this man is related to my ex-girlfriend. We recently broke up, and she has been threatening me with retaliation. She explicitly said she was going to ruin me. I have a recording of the threat and her personal information for verification." Seeing the case was escalating, the officer took out his tablet to run a check. The old man panicked and tried to snatch the device from his hands. For assaulting an officer, he was promptly cuffed and put in the back of a squad car. As they were leaving, the officer gave me a subtle nod. He couldn't actually run her info like that, but the threat was enough. I gave the departing police car a silent thumbs up. 5. That evening, as I was streaming a show, Lauren's call came in right on schedule. I muted it and let it ring. Only after she blew up my Messenger app with frantic texts, threatening to come to my apartment and burn the place down, did I finally answer. "What's the big idea? Getting my dad arrested?" she shrieked. "Are you just trying to get my attention? Fine, I'll give you a chance. Buy me everything in the links I just sent you, and I'll consider getting back together with you." A moment later, links to online stores popped up on my screen. A Michael Kors bag, a diamond tennis bracelet, a new iPhone. It all added up to over $2,000. I listened patiently until she paused to take a breath, then I hit the record button. "Are you playing a game of truth or dare and lost?" I asked calmly. Or did you just forget how to think straight? I'm in the middle of texting a cute girl I just met. Stop bothering me. I could hear her chewing something loudly through the phone, a disgusting wet smacking sound. My words made her stop mid-chew. You have the nerve to talk to other women? She screamed, her voice a hysterical shriek. My dad will be out tomorrow. You just wait. I'll make sure you die alone. You're a worthless loser who can't even buy the right latte. Why do you deserve to be happier than me? I feigned surprise. Oh, so that old creep who's been stalking me for 2 days is your dad. Her voice turned cold and menacing. That's right. Scared now? My dad runs the South Side. He could crush a loser like you without even trying. Another wave of fake realization. No wonder you never wanted me to meet your parents. If you're my dad, I wouldn't want my girlfriend to meet him either. The guy's so disgusting, even dogs would cross the street to pee somewhere else. Lauren was silent for a few seconds, just as she was about to unleash a torrent of rage. 0.01 seconds before the sound escaped her lips, I hung up and blocked her number. Now I knew for sure. The old man was her father, sent to make my life a living hell. In my last life, he killed me. In this one, he was still trying. Just then, an unknown number called. I ignored it. It called again. The third time, I answered. The voice was vaguely familiar. After a moment, I realized it was the blind date I'd stood up. She said she was still interested and wanted to add me on social media to chat. I told her I wasn't in the mood for dating. She insisted, saying she'd never been turned down by a guy before and that she had to talk to me. A friend request popped up a moment later. I was about to decline it when I noticed something familiar about her profile picture. I zoomed in. Even with the anime filter she'd used, the background was unmistakably the campus of the community college Lauren had graduated from. Well, now I had to accept. I knew Lauren had a tight-knit group of girlfriends. I never met them, but I knew they were close. I had been wondering how her dad knew exactly which road to wait on to ambush me. If my blind date was one of Lauren's friends, it all made sense. She was the one who had picked the restaurant. That was the only route from my apartment. I accepted her request. Within minutes, she was flirting aggressively, and before long, she was asking me to a movie. She picked the place, of course, and it was the same routine. She insisted I drive, so I could take her home afterward. She even hinted that I could come up to her place for a drink. Then she sent me a picture of herself, so heavily filtered she looked like a cartoon character, trying to be seductive. I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity. I was looking for a way to settle the score from my last life, and they were serving it up on a silver platter. On the day of the date, she texted me constantly. She told me to make sure my EV was fully charged so we could sit in the car with the AC on and talk after the movie. Anything to make sure I brought the car. The perfect stage for her dad's scam. Fully charged, I texted back. Plenty of juice for two. Then I got on my beat-up old e-bike and rode to the theater. The sun was setting as I put on my sunglasses and a baseball cap. Sure enough, hiding near the entrance to my condo complex, I saw Lauren. She was pacing anxiously, staring at the gate, clutching her phone. I rode right past her on my bike, and she didn't even notice. A few blocks later, on the road I was supposed to take, I saw her father waiting by the curb. He was leaning against his beat-up mobility scooter, sweating buckets in the evening heat. When I got to the theater, I spotted a painfully thin girl waiting out front. Her calves were skinnier than my arms. Even with the heavy makeup, I recognized her as the girl standing right next to Lauren in her graduation photo. I walked up and said hello. She nearly jumped out of her skin. You didn't drive? My car's parked downstairs, I lied. What? She quickly tried to cover her panic. Oh, no reason. She pulled out her phone and started texting furiously, no doubt reporting the change of plans. She was completely distracted through the entire movie, a far cry from the flirty persona she'd projected over text. Her thumbs were a constant blur on her phone screen. I went to the bathroom halfway through and never came back. She didn't even notice. It wasn't until the credits rolled that she called me in a panic, demanding to know where I was and why I ditched her. You were on your phone all night, I said. You clearly weren't interested, so I left. She immediately backpedaled, claiming she had a family emergency. I'm heading home, I said. Do you need a ride? It was the bait she'd been dangling all night. The ride home, the car, the late-night chat. This time, she panicked. No, it's fine. You go ahead. I have something else to do. Then she added, but make sure you drive home fast, okay? Take your usual route. Text me when you get there, and we can video chat. I bought some new lingerie. Another blatant attempt to lure me back onto that specific road. Of course, I took that road. It was the fastest way home on my e-bike. As I pedaled along, I saw the old man under a streetlight up ahead. He was slumped over the handlebars of his scooter, nearly asleep, his bald head bobbing. As I got closer, I could see his arms and face were covered in red mosquito bites. I slowed down as I approached him. "Fancy seeing you here," I said cheerfully. His head snapped up. He sputtered. "You didn't drive. Are you trying to get yourself killed?" I twisted the throttle and took off. The old man cursed and sped after me. I hummed a tune, keeping a steady 30-foot lead. He had his throttle maxed out, but he couldn't catch me. All he could do was scream obscenities that were immediately snatched away by the wind, making him cough. As I neared my complex, I saw a pothole up ahead, the size of a dinner plate. I slowed down, letting him get closer. Then, at the last second, I accelerated and swerved sharply around it. The old man, focused only on catching me, rode straight into it. I heard a loud crunch behind me, followed by his pained shriek. I didn't stop. I didn't even look back. By the time I reached my building, Lauren was gone. She had probably already rushed to the scene of her father's accident. When I got home, I had several new messages from the blind date. "My friend saw you on an e-bike. I told you to drive. Is this how you treat a date?" I replied with a single word, "Bye." She didn't text back. As I was getting ready for bed, my phone rang. Familiar number, familiar voice. It was the same police officer. He asked me what had happened on my way home. "I don't know, officer," I said, my voice trembling convincingly. Some crazy old man was chasing me on his scooter, so I just pedaled as fast as I could to get away. My heart is still racing. The officer sighed. It sounded like my story matched what he was expecting. He said they'd checked the traffic cameras. In the background, I could hear the old man yelling that I'd done it on purpose and that I had to pay his medical bills and be fired from my job for being a disrespectful menace. Then the call ended. They never called me back about it. I didn't expect to see Lauren sitting outside my CEO's office the next morning. When she saw me, her eyes burned with hatred. 7. Leo Mitchell. She spat my name like a curse. "You put my dad in the hospital. You think you can just come to work like nothing happened? First, I'm getting you fired. Let's see how many dates you get when you're unemployed. Without me, a loser like you will die alone." I heard every word, but I just gave her a cold, dismissive glance and walked past. My contempt sent her into a rage. She lunged at me, but just then, my CEO, Mr. Davenport, arrived. She immediately changed tactics, barging into his office and collapsing into a heap of sobs and accusations. Her hysterical wailing echoed through the entire floor. Mr. Davenport called me into his office. Lauren was still on the floor, but she shot me a triumphant smirk. Her lips formed the words, "You're so dead." Then she pointed at me and screamed, "Sir, this is the kind of monster you employ. He went on a date the second we broke up. He couldn't stand to see me happy, so he's been tormenting me and my father. Now my dad's in the hospital because this man ran him off the road. He's getting away with it, and the cops are on his side. If you keep him here, I'll be back every single day. And when my dad gets out of the hospital, he'll be here too. I'll post this all over the internet." She finished her tirade, breathless and beaming with confidence. Mr. Davenport ignored her completely. He sat calmly in his leather chair and looked at me, waiting for my explanation. What Lauren didn't know was that Mr. Davenport had just gone through a nasty divorce. His wife had cheated on him. "Sir," I said calmly, "she broke up with me because I bought her the wrong seasonal latte. She left me for another guy, got dumped, and now she's furious that I'm trying to move on with my life." Hearing this, Mr. Davenport's expression hardened as he looked down at the bloated, sobbing woman on his carpet. Lauren was still screaming, "Fire him. If you don't fire him today, I'm not leaving. I'll have my father moved here from the hospital. He can live in your lobby." Mr. Davenport picked up his desk phone. "Send all security personnel up to my office." Now, Lauren thought she'd won. She pointed a finger at me. "See? It's over for you. A pathetic loser who can't even get a coffee order right deserves to be alone forever." I pulled out my phone and started scrolling through TikToks. Seeing me ignore her, Lauren scrambled to her feet, her gaudy acrylic nails aimed at my face. I was sitting on the office sofa and simply raised my foot, blocking her advance. "Don't come any closer," I said, not looking up from my phone. "Honestly, the sight of you right now is making me nauseous. I might actually puke on you." She tried to get around my leg, but couldn't. "Just wait until security gets here," she shrieked. I snorted. A moment later, 5 or 6 large security guards filed into the office. Lauren pointed at me excitedly. "Throw him out." The guards all looked at Mr. Davenport. He pointed a single, cold finger at Lauren. "If anyone ever lets this person into the building again, they're fired. Get her out." The guards immediately grabbed Lauren and started dragging her out. "You're all the same. A bunch of cheating scumbags," she screamed, struggling. "I'm not done with you. Let me go." As I hauled her toward the door, Mr. Davenport raised his voice so she could hear. "Leo, your performance has been excellent lately. How would you feel about the department manager position?" I raised my voice in reply. "Thank you for the opportunity, sir. I accept." From the hallway, we heard Lauren's final, agonized scream. "Yeah." When her voice faded, I lowered mine. "So when do I start?" "Get out," he said, a ghost of a smile on his face. "On it." I hadn't expected him to back me so completely. He'd cut off her primary avenue of attack. But I should have known she wouldn't give up. She actually did post her story online, naming my company and everything. It got a surprising amount of traction. Mr. Davenport saw it as an opportunity. He had our company's social media team lean into the controversy. The internet exploded. Half the people supported Lauren, half supported me. The debate quickly escalated into a full-blown war of the sexes. Who's worse, a deadbeat boyfriend or a crazy ex-girlfriend? The viral wave of infamy doubled our product sales. Lauren, seeing her plan backfire, went live on TikTok, crying and telling her sob story. Our company's official account joined her live stream and left a comment. "Thanks for the free marketing." A few of my coworkers added comments congratulating me on my promotion and raise. Lauren completely lost it. She started screaming obscenities at her phone screen until her account was banned. 8. My loyalty to the company skyrocketed. And because I'd handled the situation so well, Mr. Davenport was serious about the promotion. Lauren couldn't get into the building anymore. She was now a permanent fixture on security's watch list. I started taking my e-bike to work every day instead of driving. I saw her dad a few times, lurking on my route, but after a few days of seeing me on the bike, which he couldn't catch, he gave up. I also wore a body cam now, making any attempt at a scam impossible. So he went back to harassing my condo complex. After a few nights of raising hell, he got into another brawl with the neighborhood women and took another beating. He finally figured out which apartment was mine and spent an hour pounding on the door, not realizing I wasn't even home. The father-daughter duo was out of ideas. Then, the blind date, Jessica, started texting me again. She was acting as if she had no idea her cover was blown. This time, she wanted to go camping and fishing at a remote reservoir, a place with no cell service. "It's pretty isolated out there," I texted back. "Doesn't seem safe." "That's the point," she replied. "No people, no distractions." She again insisted I drive, telling me my EV's back seats could fold down flat to make a bed. She said it as if I was some sex-crazed maniac. It was a line Lauren had clearly fed her. I didn't hesitate. It was time to end this. I would avenge my last life and clear the board for this one. I called a friend who owned a private security company and got some professional-grade gear, which I stashed in my car. Then I drove to the designated spot to pick up Jessica. On the way, she was incredibly forward, trying to feed me snacks and hold my water bottle for me. I refused everything. She pretended to pout. After what I'd been through, her feminine wiles had absolutely no effect on me. As we drove up the long, winding mountain road, she grew visibly tense, her eyes darting around the dense woods. By the time we reached the reservoir, it was dusk. The only sounds were the chirping of crickets and the calls of unseen animals. Jessica was clearly frightened. She made an excuse to use the bathroom and walked off into the trees, whispering urgently into her phone. Even from a distance, I could make out her words. "Where are you guys? I sent you the location. Get here now, I'm freaking out." I just smiled to myself. By the time I had the tent set up, her demeanor had changed completely. Her fear was gone, replaced by a cocky confidence. She insisted we go fishing down by the water's edge, tugging on my arm. I'd already heard the rustling in the underbrush nearby, so I waited. A few minutes later, a blood-curdling scream echoed from the shoreline. I calmly continued grilling the steaks I brought, letting her shrieks provide the evening's entertainment. Why would I go down to the water when the food smelled this good? The screaming continued for a solid minute while I polished off 2 kebabs. Finally, it subsided. A moment later, Jessica stumbled out of the darkness, coughing and clutching her throat. "Didn't you hear me screaming?" she demanded, her voice raw. "Yep," I said, taking a bite of perfectly grilled pork belly. Crispy on the outside, juicy on the inside. Her voice rose to a hysterical pitch. "You heard me, and you didn't come help?" I shot to my feet, my face a mask of concern. "What? You were in danger? I thought you were just doing vocal warm-ups." She swayed, looking like she was about to faint. Are you okay?" I asked, full of fake sympathy. "What happened?" She took a few deep breaths. "A stray dog," she grumbled, then turned away from me. But the smell of the barbecue was making her stomach growl. She sat down and spent the next 10 minutes texting, probably coordinating their next move. And I waited for it to get darker. Soon enough, Jessica was all smiles again, chatting as if nothing had happened. Her acting was impressive. After we ate, she suggested a romantic walk along the water. I readily agreed. She was practically vibrating with excitement as we walked, coughing every few seconds. I saw movement in the tall grass nearby, but pretended not to notice. By the shore, under the dim moonlight, she draped her arm through mine. Then, she stopped, turned to me with a sly smile, and slowly began to unzip her jacket. "I want to show you something," she whispered. I widened my eyes, playing along. She beamed, her victory assured. Behind me, footsteps crashed through the undergrowth. A dark, hunched figure charged at me, hands outstretched to push me into the deep water off the steep bank. "Die!" a familiar voice rasped. I sidestepped. The figure about to shove me suddenly clutched his face and let out a horrific scream. "Off my eyes!" I quietly pocketed the canister of high-potency pepper gel. My security friend did not mess around. The old man howled and staggered blindly before losing his footing and tumbling over the edge into the reservoir. Splash! His screams turned into desperate, gurgling pleas for help. Jessica rushed to the bank, peering into the dark water, stamping her feet in a panic. I grabbed her arm. "Be careful. There are too many stray dogs around here." Good thing I reacted so fast. She shook me off. "That's not a dog. That's Lauren's dad. Get in there and save him." "A stray dog," I corrected her. "Why would Lauren's dad be out in the middle of nowhere? There's no one here to scam." Jessica screamed his name. A moment later, Lauren's bulky figure emerged from the woods. "What did you do to my dad? Why is he in the water?" she shrieked. "Leo, you get down there and save him right now. This is attempted murder." I looked at her, baffled. "Lauren, what are you and your dad doing here? Do you two know each other?" My refusal to act drove Lauren insane. She started shoving me, trying to force me toward the edge. "I can't swim," I yelled. "You want me to drown?" She and Jessica teamed up, trying to push me in together. I gave them each a full blast of pepper gel. They staggered back, screaming and clawing at their faces. Then I called 911. "The police will be here soon," I announced calmly. "They'll save him." We were over an hour's drive from the nearest town. I was sure the old man could hold on. After all, judging by the energetic cursing still coming from the water, he seemed to have plenty of fight left in him. By the time the rescue team arrived, the reservoir had been silent for a long time. Lauren had spent half an hour running up and down the bank, screaming, but never dared to go in after him. Her father apparently knew how to tread water, because he was still breathing when they pulled him out. But after being revived at the hospital, he didn't recognize anyone. The doctor said the prolonged oxygen deprivation had caused severe brain damage. Lauren told the police I had done it on purpose, but the officer in charge was the same one who'd handled our previous encounters. He was already skeptical. My car's GPS data and dashcam footage proved they had followed me there. My body cam footage showed the old man ambushing me from behind in an attempt to push me into the water and his subsequent fall. The case against me was dropped. Lauren, however, was charged with filing a false police report and, along with Jessica, with conspiracy to commit assault. They were both detained. Life was quiet for a while. After Lauren was released, she went back to harassing me whenever she could. She couldn't stand to see me doing well. If I went on a date, if I got my promotion, if I even posted a picture of a nice meal on Instagram, she'd be in the comments, cursing me out. A few weeks later, I was driving to work when I saw him again, the old man, on his mobility scooter. He looked confused, but was humming a little tune. Suddenly, he let out a wild yell. "Everyone, get out of my way." Without looking, he veered sharply across 4 lanes of traffic, directly into the path of a massive gravel hauler. He disappeared between its front and rear wheels. The scene was a blur of red and twisted metal. The police report ruled that the truck driver was not at fault. The old man had driven directly into the truck's blind spot. Full responsibility was his. Lauren didn't even have time to mourn. She stormed the trucking company's main office, demanding compensation. When they threw her out, she came to find me, screaming that it was my fault her dad was dead. If I had just let him scam me in the first place, he never would have tried to take on a semi. She demanded I pay for everything. I told her to go cool off under a shady tree somewhere. She began splitting her time between protesting at the construction site the truck had been headed to and my office. One rainy afternoon, she slipped and fell into an open foundation pit at the construction site. The fall left her a quadriplegic. She couldn't harass me anymore. Her best friend, Jessica, cared for her for a few days, just long enough to drain her bank accounts, and then vanished. Lauren didn't realize what had happened until the hospital bills went unpaid. When the police finally caught Jessica, she had already gambled all the money away. She went to prison. I never heard what happened to Lauren after that. I had a new house, a new title at work, and a new person to share my life with. I had finally started over.